Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it is time to look up. That's right, Superman. I had the honor of attending a early screening last night for Amazon Prime members for James Gunn's DC Studios' first official movie, Superman. And usually I do reviews pretty quickly, either right after watching the movie or at least within the same day of watching the film. But in this case, two reasons I didn't. One, because I drove 2.5 hours just to watch this movie, and therefore 2.5 hours back home. So it was a late night, and I was tired. But two, because I I really needed to sort of sit on it and kind of wrap my head more around this film, because I'm I'm still a little unsure about how I feel about it. I definitely have mixed feelings. I maybe set myself up for disappointment, but it was hard not to with how great the marketing campaign was. Like, every trailer for this movie was so, so good. This has been my most anticipated movie of the year. And like, I was going into this thinking this would be potentially my favorite movie of the year, potentially one of my favorite comic book movies of all time. I mean, James Gunn is probably my favorite comic book director. I've not seen a movie of his that I haven't liked. In fact, his comic book movies are some of my favorite comic book movies of all time. The Guardians of the Galaxy films, the Suicide Squad, and I assumed it would be the same case here, but potentially even more so, considering this was my favorite superhero, Superman. And I was going into this very excited based off the trailers and all the marketing that we are finally getting that version of Superman on the big screen that I have always dreamed of. And don't get me wrong, I definitely think we did, and I'm very happy with that. But there are just a few other elements of this film that left me kind of, and that's unfortunate because I've always been a big supporter of this film, and there's of course always been like the Snyder cultists and a whole bunch of people talking trash about this film. And one of the slightly valid concerns that I saw but kind of ignored was, okay, there's a lot of characters in this movie. We feel like it's going to be overstuffed. There's not going to be enough time to develop all these characters. And this whole time I was kind of thinking, like, James Gunn's great with ensemble cast. He's going to be able to balance it out. It'll be fine. But unfortunately, I think that was one of my major concerns with the film. But I don't really even know how to describe it, because I don't really even feel like there was too many characters. I just feel like they weren't balanced well. Like, there was a decent chunk of the film where we weren't focusing on Superman and we were just dealing with a bunch of side characters, which isn't always a bad thing, but it just felt weird, you know? And one of the things I love about James Gunn's movies is they're always hilarious, but he's able to touch on some really deep emotional scenes and really adds a great deal of heart to his movies. And that was something I didn't get pretty much any of in this movie. I mean, there was a little bit between the relationship of Superman and Lois, which was great. But even that, I wish there was more done with it. There were a lot of moments that I feel like were supposed to be heartfelt moments, but because there was so little done to get to that point and it felt kind of rushed, I didn't feel as much from it. And on the other hand, with the comedy side of things, something James Gunn is very much known for, this is a funny movie, not to the point of Guardians of the Galaxy. It's definitely less comedy than that, but it was another thing I didn't really love in this movie, because while it's not like Thor: Love and Thunder where there's too much comedy, there's I think there's an all right amount of comedy and jokes in this film. I just feel like they, one, didn't land for the most part and weren't really truly funny. Because not that it was bad comedy, it's just they were very classic comedy tropes. So stuff we've seen time and time again. So it wasn't anything new. And I feel like the moments where they were placed wasn't always the best either, and kind of in some ways undermined some of those more emotional moments. Yeah, but back to the characters. I know I just mentioned that having this many characters was kind of one of the downfalls of this movie, but at the same time, I loved every character in this movie. So it's hard. I mean, acting wise, everybody was amazing. David Cornsweet is Superman. I love that casting choice. Rachel Brosnahan was a great Lois Lane. Again, I just wish they did more with her. Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor. Oh my God, so good. I'm a big fan of Smallville, so Michael Rosenbaum has always been my Lex Luthor. But I mean, Nicholas Holt's pretty great here, and I gonna take some time to fully decide, but it's pretty darn close. Like this is a pretty great Lex Luthor that I really loved. For our Justice Gang, Eddie Gathegi as Mr. Terrific was great. Such a standout character. I hope we get more from him in the future. Hawk Girl, she was all right. I mean, she was funny. I liked again, not a whole lot with her, but I enjoyed her character. Guy Gardner, Green Lantern, Nathan Fillion was perfect. He was hilarious. His jokes were great. It was other people's comedy and jokes that didn't quite land. Metamorpho, I loved. It threw me off a little bit at first. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Anthony Carrigan, and I've loved the choice of him in this role. But we never heard any dialogue in the trailer, so I don't know why I was expecting something different. But for some reason, just hearing Anthony Carrigan's voice come out of Metamorpho was a little jarring at first, but I mean, it wasn't an issue. It just took me a little bit to adjust. But that character, I think, was great. Again, there was an attempt to do some emotional moments there, but there was just so little build up to it. It didn't really feel earned, I guess you could say. Our Daily Planet cast, Jimmy Olsen is the MVP. I love Skylar Gisondo as Jimmy Olsen. I thought that was fantastic casting from the start. But I'm so glad he wasn't just like a background character. He had an actual important storyline in this film, which I loved, and that part was funny as well. He was a great character. I loved his characterization. Jimmy Olsen was great. The rest of the Daily Planet crew, I really love the cast. I really love the characters. Again, there just wasn't a whole lot done with them. And there was something done with the whole Daily Planet crew in the third act that was like, I don't really know why. It felt like it was kind of a forced way to just add more comedy and like a little bit more action, but it didn't really provide a reason of why are all of these characters here doing this thing that kind of feels not like something they should be doing. Like, I wish we got more Daily Planet stuff. We really don't get a whole lot of Clark Kent in this movie. I would love to see, and hopefully in a sequel, more Clark Kent actually reporting and doing Daily Planet stuff. I think that was great. I did enjoy the interview scene that we saw in the second trailer, I think it was, between Lois and Clark / Superman. I thought that was a great scene. There's some really great moments here. Ma and Pa Kent, mixed on. I like the casting. I like the idea of going for more realistic, like, farmer-looking people. And for the most part, I liked their characters and, like, how wholesome they were and their relationship with Clark. I just didn't like that they kind of, James Gunn wrote them to be kind of stupid, which I felt was an odd choice, and I didn't really care for that. Now, let's see. Crypto, obviously adorable. He was great. Maybe a little bit too overdone with the comedy there, especially because he would come in at some really serious moments and then really kind of just, throw things off. But again, he's adorable. He's a good boy. Well, not really, but, like, I love him. Ultraman, just going to say that was disappointing. I'll talk about that more in my spoiler review. The Engineer, she was all right, I guess. But the thing I do really love about this movie is this version of Superman and how he truly is a symbol of hope, and he's just such a kind person, and a big focus in this film is what it means to be human, and how being raised as a human has changed Kal-El, and how truly great that is. There's some I see now, obviously this film was originally titled Superman Legacy, and after seeing the movie, I see where that part came in, and I thought that was a really clever twist. It's a little bit of a twist on his origin, which is another thing. We don't get origins for anyone in this movie. We get a couple descriptions for some people, which is all right, but it does kind of feel like with so many new characters being introduced in this film, especially unknown characters to the general public like a Metamorpho or Mr. Terrific, they do kind of come out of nowhere. But just seeing them on screen was pretty cool. It's very comic booky, which I enjoy, very bright, very colorful. I love that contrast. One of the things I didn't love about the Snyder films was how dark and gritty they were, both in tone and color-wise. So I love this. And yeah, it's just, again, I feel it was a little too chaotic. I did like the idea of the overall plot, but I just think there was too much going on at multiple moments of this film that it was hard to focus and hard to appreciate. But yeah, I think that's what I'll say for now. Again, still decent film. I liked it. I just didn't love it. I'll talk more in my spoiler review. I plan on seeing this movie again on Friday as well. So maybe seeing it again will change my opinion, hopefully, because I still, man, the amount of merchandise I've bought for this movie, I'm not regretting it because I love it and I love this character. And I'm excited to see it again. There are 2 post-credit scenes, so stay for that. Yeah. Oh, here's a perfect way to describe it. Some of the issues I have with it are just, they went a little too James Gunn with it, which was one of the things I was slightly concerned about. But I love James Gunn as a director, but I was concerned, he has a particular vibe and, types of things that he does. Is he going to go too far with that in the comedy, in some of the types of jokes that he does? A little bit, but it was still a good movie, and I still recommend going out and seeing it in theaters, especially if you are a DC fan. I think you will have a fun time because it was still a fun, engaging movie. Again, I just wasn't exactly what I wanted, but still a great time for a summer movie. So anyways, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What did you think about James Gunn's Superman movie? Have you seen it yet? Obviously, I just went to an early screening last night, so most people haven't, but this is non-spoiler. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below, your predictions, when you're seeing this, and thanks so much for watching. Please drop if you've enjoyed this video and hit the subscribe button so I can keep you up to date on everything that goes on in the DC life.